The expensive silence of the spotless break room was shattered by the clatter of a mug hitting the floor. Hot, dark coffee exploded across the white tiles, barely missing a pair of designer heels. "Are you blind?" Isabella snarled. Her voice was pure venom. She didn't even glance at the mess. Her eyes were locked on the man who dropped the mug. His name was Alex. New guy. Quiet. Worked in the mailroom. He instantly crouched down, fumbling with a wad of napkins. "I am so sorry, Miss Vance. I didn't see you coming around the corner." Isabella scoffed, a sound of pure disgust. "Of course you didn't. People like you never see anything beyond your own miserable little lives." She sneered at his worn-out but clean sneakers. "Look at this mess. Just like your life. Pathetic." Alex said nothing, just methodically wiped at the spreading puddle. His silence just made her angrier. She was spoiling for a fight, looking for a reason to flex the power she loved so much. "What's the matter?" she taunted, raising her voice so the whole office could hear. "Cat got your tongue? Or do you just not know how to apologize properly? Where do they even find you? Some work program for the homeless?" Alex stopped cleaning, his eyes still fixed on the floor. You could feel the tension in the air. This was the moment, the one that would change everything. It had been 6 weeks since Alexander Vance walked through the glass doors of Sterling Orion Capital, not as its owner, but as its lowest-level employee. To everyone else, he was just Alex, an intern in the mailroom, a ghost in the machine of his own empire. The official story was simple. He was from out of state, no family, thin resume, just trying to get a foot in the door. This whole charade was a promise he'd made to his late grandfather, the man who built the company. "Don't trust the reports, Alex," the old man had rasped on his deathbed. "A company's soul is in its people. Go see for yourself. See who they really are when the boss isn't around." So Alex swapped his tailored suits for khakis and his penthouse for a small one-bedroom across town. He became a silent observer, watching the daily drama of the company he was about to inherit. And from day one, he observed Isabella. Isabella Dubois was a star project manager who moved through the office like a shark, sleek, fast, and always ready to bite. She was praised for her aggressive tactics and her ability to deliver results, no matter who got hurt. She was also a casual tyrant who seemed to enjoy belittling anyone she thought was beneath her. In his first week, Alex saw her tear a strip off a junior analyst for a single typo in a 200-page report, calling him an overpaid idiot in front of everyone. A week later, he watched her mock the cleaning lady's accent, waving a dismissive hand and saying, "Just clean the floor, dear, don't try to speak." Every cruel remark confirmed his grandfather's fears. Alex kept a mental list, noting every insult, every whispered complaint from terrified employees, every time someone flinched when Isabella walked past. He was a prince in pauper's clothes, gathering intel from the trenches of his own kingdom. "She thinks fear is the same as respect," he'd think to himself while sorting mail. "She thinks her title makes her important, but it just shows how little worth she really has." He was playing the long game. He needed more than a reason to fire her. He needed to understand how the company culture let someone like her thrive in the first place. His grandfather called it the company's soul. And right now, that soul felt deeply sick. The breaking point came during a quarterly meeting for the Phoenix Initiative, Isabella's big project. The problem? The project was a total disaster. It was over budget, behind schedule, and clients were getting worried. The pressure was on, and Isabella wasn't looking for solutions. She was looking for a scapegoat. Alex's job was simple: deliver updated presentation binders to the boardroom, but someone had given him the wrong time. He walked in just as a senior VP was grilling Isabella about a huge budget discrepancy. Her face was a mask of pure rage. When she saw Alex, she saw her escape, a target. "What is this?" she snapped, grabbing a binder from him. "You're late. We needed these 20 minutes ago." "My apologies, Miss Dubois," Alex said calmly. "The email I received said 3 p.m. "Are you calling me a liar?" Her voice echoing in the dead-silent boardroom. The other executives started looking very uncomfortable. "No, I'm just telling you what my instructions were," Alex replied, keeping his voice steady. He refused to let her see him crack. That was the worst thing he could have done. His composure was a direct challenge to her authority. She slammed the binder down on the table. Your instructions are to do what you're told, but I guess that's too complicated for someone with your background." She looked him up and down, from his simple haircut to his old shoes. She was winding up for the final blow. "You're incompetent, a drain on this company. Where did they even find you?" She didn't wait for an answer. "What, were you some charity case, a poor little orphan with no one to teach him any better?" The word just hung there in the air. Orphan. It was true, a fact he never shared, a deep wound he'd learned to live with. But she didn't say it with sympathy. She spat it out like a curse, turning his private tragedy into a weapon for public humiliation. The room went completely still. The executives were suddenly fascinated by their notepads. Alex slowly lifted his head and looked right at her. His face was a blank wall. He held her gaze for a long, silent moment, letting her see absolutely nothing of the storm she had just unleashed inside him. Then, without a word, he turned and walked out, the quiet click of the door closing behind him sounding as loud as a gunshot. Back in the mailroom, Alex didn't rage. He didn't break anything. The shock of her attack cooled into something hard and crystal clear, a purpose. "She crossed a line," he whispered to the empty room. "Now I'm going to see just how deep the rot goes." His disguise, once a tool for watching, was now a weapon for investigating. After all, nobody pays attention to the mail guy, and the mail guy hears everything. He started his work with a new intensity. Every delivery was a spy mission. Dropping off a package at Isabella's assistant's desk, he overheard frantic phone calls about cost overruns and vendor kickbacks. Collecting shredder bins from accounting, he noticed invoices from a company called Solutions being rushed for payment, all with Isabella's signature. The bills were huge, and the services were vague. He spent his nights digging. Using a secure laptop in his apartment, he slipped into the Sterling Orion servers through a back door only he knew about. He ran a search on Solutions. It was a shell corporation, set up just 6 months ago, and the sole director, Isabella's fiancé. The puzzle pieces clicked into place. The Phoenix Initiative wasn't just failing, it was being robbed blind. Isabella wasn't just a bully, she was a thief. She was embezzling company funds to pay for her fancy lifestyle, creating a crisis so she could blame and fire innocent employees to cover her tracks. One afternoon, he had a close call. A senior partner, one of his grandfather's oldest friends, walked by the mailroom. "Alex?" Mr. Hemlock said, confused. "Alexander Vance, is that you?" Alex's heart pounded. He turned, putting on a friendly, slightly blank smile. "I'm sorry, sir, you must have me mixed up with someone else. My name's just Alex, new in the mailroom." Hemlock stared for a second longer. "The resemblance is uncanny. My apologies, young man." He walked away, but Alex could feel the man's eyes on his back. The stakes were getting higher. His time in the shadows was running out. In the middle of all this toxicity, one person stood out. Her name was Maria, a quiet, hard-working woman in the accounting department. She had seen Isabella's meltdown in the break room, and later that day approached Alex with a nervous smile and a cup of coffee. "Here," she'd said softly. "Figured you could use this. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry about what she said." That was wrong. It was a small gesture, but in an office where kindness was in short supply, it felt huge. Maria was exactly the kind of person his grandfather had told him to find, the honest, hard-working soul of the company. Alex started talking to her whenever he could. He learned she was a single mom working 2 jobs to put her son through a special school. She was brilliant with numbers and often caught mistakes her bosses missed, but she was too shy to ever speak up and get credit. She talked about Isabella with a mix of fear and disgust. "She approves invoices without even looking," Maria whispered to him one day. "As long as it's for her project, it gets a rubber stamp. I tried to flag one last month from a vendor I'd never heard of for consulting services that cost $250,000. My supervisor told me to mind my own business." She was talking about Innovate Solutions. "You should be careful, Maria," Alex said seriously. "People like her don't like being questioned." "I know," she sighed, looking defeated. "But it's just wrong. It's not our money." In that moment, Alex made a second decision. The first was to expose Isabella. The second was to lift up Maria. She was proof that the company's soul wasn't rotten, just infected at the top. With the evidence piling up, Alex switched from watching to acting. It was time for Isabella's perfect little world to come crashing down. His first move was to contact the project's most important client. Using an encrypted email and pretending to be a concerned internal auditor, he sent them one single damning document, an expense report showing the payments to Innovate Solutions right next to public records of Isabella's recent purchase of a luxury sports car. The price of the car matched the invoice to the dollar. He simply wrote, "Does this look like a sound investment to you?" 2 days later, the client's CEO personally called Sterling Orion's president, froze all payments, and demanded a full audit of the Phoenix initiative. The news hit the top floor like a bomb. Isabella was furious. In an emergency meeting, she blamed market volatility and incompetent junior staff. Next, Alex went after her supply chain. She was counting on a shipment of microprocessors to hit a key deadline. Alex knew the shipment was coming from a subsidiary his family's holding company controlled. He made one disguised phone call. "There's been a contamination at the plant. Full quarantine. Nothing gets out for at least a month." The news of the delay was the final nail in the project's coffin. Isabella was now not only over budget, but was guaranteed to miss her deadline. She started to panic and make sloppy mistakes. She fired 2 good project managers to look like she was taking action. She sent angry, unprofessional emails, which Alex, doing his mailroom duties, accidentally misdirected to the head of HR. Her empire was crumbling, and she had no idea the man orchestrating her downfall was the same quiet guy she saw every day pushing a mail cart, the man she'd called a pathetic little orphan. The announcement for the annual shareholders gala arrived with the usual fanfare. This year, though, was special. The company president was finally going to introduce the new chairman of the board, the mystery heir who'd taken over after the founder's death. Nobody knew who it was. Isabella saw the gala as her last hope. Her career was going up in flames, but she was a survivor. Dressed in a stunning gown and dripping with diamonds Alex knew were bought with stolen money, she worked the room, a fake smile plastered on her face, desperately trying to save herself. Alex arrived not in his work uniform, but in a bespoke tuxedo that fit him perfectly. He used a private entrance, nodding to board members who had known him since he was a kid. He stood in the wings of the stage, watching Isabella laugh a little too loudly with a banking executive. Then the moment came. The company president, Marcus Thorne, stepped up to the podium. "Good evening, everyone," Marcus began. "Tonight, we look toward the future, a future that will be guided by a new hand. It is my honor to finally introduce the man who has been quietly overseeing our company's transition, the majority shareholder and our new chairman of the board, Mr. Alexander Vance." A ripple of confused applause went through the room. They knew the name Vance, but no one knew the face. And then Alex stepped out of the shadows and into the spotlight. A collective gasp swept through the ballroom. Whispers turned into a stunned roar. Alex walked calmly to the podium, his eyes scanning the shocked faces until they landed on one, Isabella. Her smile was gone, replaced by a mask of pure horror. The champagne glass in her hand trembled. Her face went white. She looked like she'd just seen a ghost. Alex took the microphone. The room fell completely silent. "Thank you, Marcus," he said. His voice was calm, but now, amplified, it carried an authority no one in that room had ever heard him from. "Some of you have already met me. You know me as Alex from the mailroom." He let that sink in, his eyes never leaving Isabella. "I came to work here under a different name to honor a promise to my grandfather. He wanted me to see this company from the bottom up, to understand its soul. And I have." He paused, his eyes still locked on her. "One person in particular made my background very clear to me. She even called me a poor little orphan in a room full of executives." Another gasp went through the crowd. Every eye in the room was now darting between Alex on stage and the petrified Isabella. She was right about one thing. I am an orphan. My parents died a long time ago. What she didn't know is that my grandfather, Alastair Vance, the man who built this company, raised me as his son, and before he passed, he left it all to me. He delivered the final blow. "Miss Dubois, you were right to call me an orphan, but you were wrong to think it made me weak. You called me trash. I regret to inform you that this entire company is mine." Isabella let out a choked cry. The champagne glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the marble floor, echoing the complete destruction of her world. The fallout was fast and brutal. Before Isabella could even move, 2 security guards were at her side. "Miss Dubois," one said quietly, "if you'll come with us." She was escorted out of the gala, babbling apologies and protests that no one was listening to. As the doors closed behind her, Marcus Thorne took the stage again. "In light of discoveries made by our new chairman, Sterling Orion has opened a full investigation into the Phoenix Initiative. Evidence of embezzlement and fraud, which was anonymously delivered to my office this morning, has already been turned over to the authorities." The room buzzed. Justice wasn't just served, it was official. The next day, Alex, sitting in his rightful office on the top floor, called his first meeting. He only summoned one person, Maria from accounting. She walked in, looking terrified and confused. "Ms. Garcia," Alex began, smiling warmly, "please have a seat." She perched on the edge of a leather chair. "Mr. Vance, sir, I don't understand." "Please, call me Alex. Maria, for the past few months, I've seen who works hard, who has integrity, and who gets overlooked. You were one of the only people who showed me kindness. More importantly, you showed incredible integrity when you tried to flag those fake invoices, even when you were told not to." He leaned forward. "The head of your department has been fired for negligence. The position is open. I'm offering it to you. It comes with a significant salary increase and full benefits." Tears welled up in Maria's eyes. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Alex said gently. "Good people deserve to be rewarded." In the weeks that followed, Alex didn't just clean house, he rebuilt it. He brought in a zero-tolerance policy for workplace bullying, but his biggest move was his last. At a press conference, he announced the formation of the Vance Foundation, a multi-million-dollar charity funded by the company. Its mission? To provide scholarships and support for orphaned and underprivileged kids. He took Isabella's ugliest insult and turned it into his legacy, proving that being an orphan wasn't a weakness, but a source of incredible strength and empathy.
CTA. Isabella learned the hard way that you should never judge a book by its cover. The person you step on today might just be your boss tomorrow. So what do you think is the most important quality in a leader? Is it strength, smarts, or compassion? Let us know in the comments below. And for more stories of justice served, make sure to like and subscribe. In the end, this wasn't just a story about getting even. It was a story about what makes a person worthy. Isabella thought her worth came from her title and the fear she created, but her entire identity was built on a house of cards that collapsed the second she lost her power. Alex, the man mocked for having nothing, found his worth in his character. When he finally stepped into his power, he didn't just use it to punish, he used it to heal, rebuild, and lift up the people who deserved it. He showed everyone that the best revenge isn't just living well, it's building something better from the ashes of disrespect.